I want to know what type of entities you guys are utilizing in your businesses. I have so many things because you guys may have so much more, advantages, and so many more resources, available to you because you've been doing. This is a really good way to leverage this shelf corps. This is why shelf corps are a huge deal, because they are defaulted. When you get a good one, is they're defaulted under the old stuff, and there's not, because what they're doing now essentially on the SS4. These are one of the things that I was conversing with. I was talking to someone. He has a S corp. He's into real estate. He has an S corp. He's into the becoming a secure party creditor as well, and he just had a lot of questions, and so it just made me. I was like, I got to do a video on this because there is a huge, mind shift that you have to take when you're, approaching this, this stuff. And so first, I just wanted to let you guys understand that corporations are the powerhouse. Trusted at the top, but corporations are the powerhouse. It's how you maneuver, how you, able to really establish yourself, and because first of all, the corporations is the first way it was. Is introduced to most people. They're not introduced to trust first. They're introduced to corporations. So corporations are the powerhouse. It's a way to, really, really generate revenue. And so I say that because we are taught that stay away from corporations. A lot of us are taught we think it's bad, and we try to not stay away from corporations. We don't understand our entities and the power that we have. The corporations are the powerhouse, period. It's a separate entity from you. It's a separate entity of its own. To the IRS, corporations are the top. With that being said, you're able to pick what year you want to be classified as. I mean, if you want to, you want to have a fiscal year, or you want to have a a calendar year, and you're not restricted. Versus when you go to apply for an S corp, first of all, you got to understand private and public. That's gonna always be transmitting in your private lives and your business lives. That is always transmitting in politics and everything that you see, everything. And when you become when you become more depth into the information, you will understand what's really going on, and what's going on is public and private. And that's always transmitting, always at all times. However, there's different, so corporations can be foreign or they can be domestic. LLCs can be foreign or domestic, but only at the state level. There's no such thing as a foreign LLC. To the IRS. To the IRS, LLC, sole proprietors, all of that stuff is a disregarded entity. It's still attached to a person, which is ultimately attached to a social security number. The S corp is in the same sense, because the S corp is considered a special privilege that the IRS gives for people to have a separate entity. But all profits and everything that's filtered into the corporation is filtered to that person, and it's attached to that person. So when you go to set up an S corp, you're setting up an S corp to pass through profits, and stuff, and it's taxed on your individual, which is by your social security number. And so this is why the discussion of this is very, 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 very. I think people should be aware of what's going on, because first of all, we have to understand, if corporations are the powerhouse, then why did the LLC? LLCs and stuff has no relevance on the federal level. The IRS doesn't even see that. It's only more so on the state level when you do an LLC. Now, to be an S corp, you can be an S corp by doing through a profit corporation at the state level, and then doing on the back end at the IRS. Or you can do it by being an LLC on the state level, and so forth, right? And you definitely want to always have an operating agreement in place, whether you're foreign or domestic at the state level. You always want to have your operating agreement or your bylaws in place so that state laws are not defaulted into your businesses. So with that being said, I just wanted to, clarify some things, because there was a lot of different questions. When you're setting up your S corp, the S corp is, like I said, it's a privilege given by the IRS. I'm going to read the definition of what the S corps what the IRS has S corps are. It says S corps are corporations that elect to pass corporate income losses, deductions, and credits through to their shareholders for federal tax purposes. Shareholders of S corporations report the flow-through tax of income and losses on their personal tax returns and are assessed tax at their individual income tax rates. This allows S corporations to avoid double taxation, mindful that is considered, you know, the double tax is on C corporations is considered to be a very negative. It has a very negative connotation, and it really, it's out there like that so that it keeps you away from becoming a C corporation, because corporations are the powerhouse. And you have to understand that, like I said, you have to understand from a private and public capacity. A lot of stuff about the private is not, you have to know what you're looking for when you're private. Because if you don't know what you're looking for, you're not going to find the information that you need. Because even though they have to publish the information, right? Or when you call into the IRS, they're not going to tell you this information, right? And especially if you get some new people on the phone, but you get some vets on the phone, you respect them, they're listening, you can probe them, they can't probe you, because of course they're not going to compromise themselves. But you have to know what you're looking for, or else you're going to be in defaulted, because the way they have the new online systems and all this online stuff when it comes to dealing with your public and private capacity, you better always have your paper forms and or do it some other ways, because these systems are defaulted to be public, default you into public entities. And so you better be very mindful. Even when you're calling to set up that foreign trust on the phone, they already have that SS4 2017 form, which is a revision of all the other forms. And when they're utilizing that form, is everything on that SS4 2017 is public entities. Okay, hello people. So I just wanted you caution yourself. So when you're doing the online system, it's the same way. It's automatically classifying you into these, giving you these options. You don't have a choice. You're going to be defaulted some way or the other. You're going to be defaulted into a public entity. And so you have to be very mindful of what's going on. And so that's why I'm saying that. But C corporations have this, you cannot see the double tax and you have to look at it as shift your paradigm when you're becoming a business owner, because your whole paradigm is going to shift, because you're no longer being defaulted. You have a choice. You have choices. Your choices is your choice. Versus when you're coming from a social security number type of person, employee, and so forth, you're automatically defaulted. And so if we know that the powerhouse of corporations, then we have to understand that why are they making it seem as if and I'm not saying, because S corps do have their industries, they have their specific purposes. They are powerhouses too, but the corporations reign supremes. S corps are these are so many different revisions and so many different provisions that you have to comply with, be in compliance with, to even be approved. And then one of the questions that came up is when you are doing an S corp, you automatically have to do the calendar year, and if you specify you want to have a fiscal year, so the calendar year is defaulted December 31st. That's a defaulted thing that IRS utilizes. However, when you're a corporation, you get to choose if you're going to calendar year or fiscal year, and there's no regulations about that. However, when you're an S corp, you want to be a fiscal year, whether that's because there's when you're doing the SS with the 2553 form for the S corp, there are 4 different tax year that you can choose, and 2 of them are fiscal years, 2 of them are defaulted calendar year, which is December 31st. Both of those dates are considering calendar years. The other 2 are considered fiscal year, but there's different provisions, and it does, of course, depending on, if you're a PSC, which is a personal service corporation, which is attorneys, accountants, healthcare, and so forth. Now they have different regulations. However, when you're dealing with the S corp, and you want to be under the 444 provision, or you want to choose to be a natural business or a natural owner, you have to be approved for these type of, 52-week year, fiscal year, and so forth. But the question always comes, well, what does these year means? Like, why did I understand this is accounting purposes, and I understand that they use time as, the January through, December. December is the end of the year in the physical realm, and I understand that part of it. But I always, question that. I always, I'm always looking at the deeper, underlying, like, well, why? So if corporations get to choose, then why? So this is being limited. So you're very limited in some of the things, and you have to be aware of what's going on, especially you're coming out of being a secured party creditor. First of all, even to be considered a S corp, you do have to meet certain, criteria, and the criteria is you have to be a domestic entity. The also the shareholders have to be a domestic entity, and so what is that? And so also you also have to the employment taxes, self-employment taxes, and all of those things, depending on what your industry is, of course. You are also subject to estimated tax, well, not estimate, estimated tax, employment taxes, if that's you have employment employees. But the self-employment taxes dealing with everything that's attached to your social security number, which is Medicare, and Social Security, of course, and FUTA, and all of those things. So everything is dealing with your S corp is dealing with you through your Social Security number. Now, if you were already established that S corp, then you're fine, because you don't have to re-enter your information. But when you're moving forward, you still have to be defaulted, because everything the IRS utilizes that for, you have to always remember that date. And so that it starts to become an issue when you are reclassifying or when you're mitigating through a trust, because even though you do the S corp and you do it under a trust, you still have to be a domestic trust, which is also a public trust. So it has its provisions, versus where when you have a C corp, the C corp is not regulated as such. Now you don't have to be on a SEC to be a C corp. You can have a C corp that's completely private, because a C corp can be domestic or it could be foreign, right? So you have so many more advantages. And so those are the questions, and those are the things that I was saying to the person, and it just brought enlightenment to him, and he was just like, wow, I didn't even consider a lot of this stuff. He was like, wow, I really do have to shift my mindset, because this is a whole nother ball game. And I do want to be able to, I do want to know what you guys out there that have already been operating your private vehicles for years. And of course, I know you have to be business owners, whether you're doing DBAs, sole proprietorships, whether you're doing LLCs, whether you're doing whatever. There's a lot of restrictions when it comes to the S corp, because of the because it utilizes your social security number, versus when you're in a C corp, you're not restricted. And there's a lot of negative connotations when it comes to C corps, and I don't really understand it, because the C corps is the powerhouse. It so many more things that you can do and move, and you're not like really confined when you are a C corp versus when you are considered an S corp, because you got to understand, first of all, the LLC is only conducive to the state that you are doing business in. It has no merit at a federal level, period. Of course, when it comes to certain states and stuff like that, it's completely like different or whatever. But to the IRS, it's a disregarded entity, and the only way that you can classify and change that is by becoming a corporation or having some privilege that they're giving you, which is the S corp, by becoming a separate entity from yourself and from your person. And so that was like a lot of the topics that we were discussing. And just to make, because I don't want to make this a long video, because there's so many avenues that we can expand on, but of course we want to keep the video as short as no, we don't want to make a long video discussing a lot of these different things, but like the connotation about the C corporate is really considered like bad, and it's a lot of money, and it's cheaper to be a C corp than it is to be a LLC. You know what I mean? And the penalties for LLCs in the penalties, like it's totally different. And actually, the LLC is way more different. And when you're becoming an S corp, you can do that by, like I said, you can do it two ways. But most of you got to understand is at a state level, the IRS don't really have anything. They have much more to do with consumer laws and your consumer laws and employment type of laws and stuff like that, and regular things that's regulated on the state when you're when you're transacting business in that particular state. So it's more so the LLC can only be foreign to at the state level, right? So if I'm an LLC and especially you definitely want to make sure that you're transacting, especially when you're into real estate, you definitely want to make sure that you have your stuff in place to where you are conducting, because it'll create more havoc on the other, on the other end if you're transacting business, especially real estate in another state that you're not set up to do business in. With that being said, there's just so many topics to expand on, but I definitely am very open to hearing you guys. I definitely, because I know you guys out there that's been under, and this is another reason why you guys have to utilize shelf corps as well, because this is why, because if you guys been out here and you're being secure party for a long time, you guys are probably have industries. I want to know what industries you guys are in. I definitely want to know what entities you guys are operating. Are you guys under the old stuff? Are you under the new stuff? Because I know y'all got some stuff out there that I have no idea about. Like, you have way more access to things that I may have no recollection of, and so I definitely want to know why, what type of industries you guys are in, what type of entities you guys are utilizing. Are you guys being taking advantage of really taking massive action in your businesses and really getting on the set? Because another thing that you can do a good thing about the corporations as well is when you're coming out of being an employee, all that 401k that you have, you can set up an account. You can do trading. You can trade on your individual rate, but you can also roll it over into your company and really get out here and really be massive. Like, it's so many other things that you can do with your corporations. They are powerhouses, and don't ever let what's being filtered through because we're in the age of information and so much stuff is being fished to us, and it's not necessarily true. It doesn't have any merit, right? And that's when you begin to go and take control of your private capacities, you'll be able to really see it on the individual level, on a business level, on a global level. You'll really see what's going on and what's really transacting in every avenue. I mean, everything that you will be able to see, public and private, is really what's going on. And you'll understand that spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally, everything is, you will be able to see those, the economies that's going on. Yeah, I am very open, guys. I do really want to converse. I really have, you get you guys' feedback. I want to know what entities are you guys utilizing? Are you secure party creditors? How long have you been secure party creditors? What industries are you in? What entities are you operating? Are you maximizing your businesses? Are you, because I understand that it takes time, and you have to have a plan. You can't live, you have to manifest anything. And trust me, I'm manifesting, and my vision is so bigger than what it is at this point. But I definitely, plan on utilizing and maximizing my entity to the max. Trust. Definitely want to, mitigate you through different, and you can do that, in your businesses. You can do it, corporations. You use your parent company. You can, mitigate through trust. You have so many different ways, and how many, to get on the board game and to really maneuver. And I just I'm very open and interested, and really want to converse and know what you guys out there are doing. Especially you guys that's been a secure party. I want to know what industries y'all utilizing. I really want to know what industries you guys are in, your entities. How long are you guys under the 1996? Are you under the new stuff? What do you guys think about the new IRS assistant SS4 online? What are you guys operating? Are you foreign trust? public trust. What I want to know, I really want to know. I'm very open to that discussion. I want to hear you guys' feedback. But that is my time. I definitely appreciate your attention. I appreciate, the feedback. I appreciate, your time that you came and, with over here. And, I appreciate it. I definitely do. Thank you. You guys enjoy the rest of your week. Peace.